If you want to understand the silence surrounding these ancient cultures and the social agenda that was being waged in the 1800s, a study of E.G. Squier's work and life is very revealing. In the republication of Ancient Monuments by the Smithsonian in 1998, Dr. J. Metzler would go on to state that mound constructions was widely attributed to a race of mound builders who no longer exist where and as they had earlier, as he would state that the Smithsonian had a lot writing on this book devoted to the question of origin, antiquity, identity of the mound builders. E.G. Squires was born in Bethlehem, New York on June 17, 1821. His father, Joel, was a licensed Methodist circuit minister in upstate New York in the 1830s. In 1840s, he worked as a struggling writer and co-editor of the Hartford Journal. He accepted a position as editor of the Gazette in Chillicothe, Ohio, which led him to learn of these ancient mound building cultures, as there's many mounds and giant earthworks in that area. By 1846, he qualified himself as a civil engineer and started to survey the mounds and these geometric earthworks. By July of 1846, Squire and Davis had reportedly opened 80 mounds and collected some 6,000 artifacts from these mounds. In 1847, Squire and Davis had turned over their report, The Ancient Monuments of the Mississippi Valley, to the newly formed Smithsonian Institute, where they published it in 1848 as the very first publication of the Smithsonian. But it didn't take long before they began to realize the political and religious ramifications that this report would have on race policy, manifest destiny, and religious claims being made. So they decided that they would rehire E.G. Squires without Dr. Davis to do a new report in an attempt to get him to provide a more politically acceptable assessment of these ancient mound building cultures and artifacts. Asking Squire to write a new report on the ancient monuments found in the state of New York. This new book would be retitled, where the first was Ancient Monuments, now it's Aboriginal Monuments of the state of New York. E.G. Squires became quite defiant because of the heavy-handed editing that took place on his first two books by the Smithsonian. Squire took some of his survey plates and decided that he was going to print in Buffalo, New York, a new book. And in 1851, he published this book, The Antiquities of the State of New York. Squire went on to state, there is almost positive evidence that the mound builders were an agricultural people, considerably advanced in the arts, possessing great uniformity throughout the whole territory, which they occupied in manners, habits, and religion. A uniformity sufficiently marked to identify them as a single people, having a common origin, common modes of life, and as a consequence, common sympathies, if not common and consolidated government. Does that describe really a savage culture? No. Thus, E.G. Squires' reports and findings was continually going against this manifest destiny agenda that was being advanced. Thus, the battle of opinions ensued, followed by personal attacks that all took its toll on Squires' health, as he was committed to an insane asylum for the last 14 years of his life. Were some of the actions taken at that time by the Smithsonian and others a result of some of the claims that was being made by Squires and others?
Then contemporary minister and scientist Dr. Stephen Peet, a member of no less than 10 archaeological organizations, published in 1883 one of the most thorough books on the mounds. He claimed that, quote, anthropology had become the battleground for all the conflicts of thought now going on between revelation and nationalism, faith and skepticism, creation and evolution, etc." Unquote. Whether motivations were religious or politically based, modern experts agree that wanton destruction did occur.
Manifest destiny, the idea that American First Nations had never achieved anything worth preserving, has resulted in the wanton destruction of thousands and thousands of earth constructions, mounds, embankments, figures, and settlements. So we have lost incalculable amount of archaeological data because of no appreciation of their value for historical purposes.
There was one mound destruction that is particularly suspicious.
The Hebrew works, for example, in Milford, Ohio, that was totally taken down and destroyed. Some suggest through a certain type of funding that was done on a deliberate basis. We really can't prove that. Yet privately we know that it wasn't stopped either. That was allowed to be taken down and it was not stopped. And it's lost. It's gone to us forever.
I think the origins of our pattern of obliteration and ignorance of the past of ancient America lies in two ways. First, we thought as a nation that we were starting something brand new. Our founding documents are full of new start, new page, new everything, new order of the universe, we say in our national sail. Well, it isn't a new order of the universe. It's another order in this part of the universe. So we started with a prejudice that said, aren't we wonderful, we're starting everything anew. We aren't.